Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of January 10th through the 16th of 2022. Alright, so this week we have quite a bit going on astrologically, quite a transformative week, and some important energies to work with. So first of all, we're going to be approaching a full moon, which won't be until Monday of next week. But as we go through this week, there's likely going to be more momentum building throughout the lunar cycle and getting up to that, again, heightened energy phase of the cycle. Now, starting off the week, we do have Mars, the planet of our drives, squaring up to Neptune, the planet of what's more important to us on a soul level. And so with this, it's usually good to align our motivations and drives towards the things that are more soul-fulfilling for us. Otherwise, it can feel like swimming upstream or uncertainty, swimming through the ethers. But when it is aligned to our soul, when it is aligned to more soul-fulfilling things, it's a great way of working with that particular transit. Now this week, Mercury is going retrograde. This is going to be around the Friday time period. So we are starting off a 3-week period of starting to rework things in our life and reconsider things in Capricorn. This could be about achievements and accomplishments that maybe have been going on for the past years with a lot of Capricorn and Saturn energy that we've had. But Mercury is going to get very close to a square with Uranus, not quite contact. And so maybe some things that might be about change, incorporating some more change in our lives, some more freedom, getting outside the comfort zone a little bit, and starting to experiment. I think during these next few weeks, it's great to experiment, try new things, but of course, just be flexible during the retrograde, and things could start to shift there regarding our routines around that Friday time period. And then the week does end with the sun going over deep Pluto in Sagittarius. So this is illuminating the deeper dimensions once again, as was the case last month quite strongly. So just being aware of what is deeply important to us in life and reclaiming that power and doing things towards facing fears and personal power is a great new chapter to what is the new Sun-Pluto cycle for the next year. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, January 10th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. You will notice a lot of the signs are different. So if you are new, definitely check out the link down below for more information. All right, so let's go and do a recap coming into this week. We still do have a lot of Sagittarius energy. The sun is here, Venus retrograde is here. So the main context is still good for expanding our mental and literal horizons. Great time of learning, great time of expanding our perception on things, more abstract stuff, knowledge, wisdom, maybe a bit of adventurousness with that. And in our relationships with Venus, but of course our relationships and our values are going through this kind of change with the retrograde, maybe a bit of a pause with some of the normal stuff involving these things, but good to reconsider our values. What is it we enjoy in life? What do we value? And to reconsider our relationship life. Maybe, again, try some new things there. Retrogrades are a great time of experimentation and a good time of experimenting with our values and relationships during this, this transit. Now, Mars is in deep Ophiuchus, so the motivation and drives that we are having are definitely in the watery realms. So it is important, especially this week, as we'll talk about, to align that motivation and drive towards what's more important to us on a soul level and deeper level. But with this, collectively, we're probably wanting to get more truth, get to the deeper matters of things. There's a lot of healing going on as well to our assertive and confidence and initiative, and especially once Mars does pass over the galactic center, which will be in the coming weeks. The coming week actually could be quite transformative. So let me just double check. So right, so next week Mars will start to pass over that galactic center, which is usually the transformation of the death, let's say, of our old needs, our old desires, the old self, right? The fiery side, the things we want, right? It's the death of that. To the rebirth, to the new beginning, the transformation with a new, more freer side. So when we have let go of that ego attachment to the control, to things we want for safety, security, whatever we're taking those actions towards, that surface level side of ourself dies, so to speak, then it leads to that rebirth. And that's likely what we'll be feeling. But good to prelude with that this week. Anything that is about healing, deep personal transformation, I think is still great. And Mercury is in Capricorn. So in this sense, our minds are on the more constructive things. So anything involving accomplishment and achievement, achieving things, especially that utilize Mercury type stuff like knowledge, communication, can be great to further develop as well. All right, so let's talk about this specifically for each day of the week here, starting first with Monday, January 10th. Coming into this, we are still in the first quarter phase of the lunar cycle, so it is a time of perhaps taking some action and challenging ourselves, as was the weekend energy, or at least Sunday energy, to start to challenge ourselves towards implementing these new beginnings that we had a week ago. So exactly 1 week ago, we had the new moon, the new beginning to the lunar cycle. Now we do come to our first challenges of this cycle. At least it's good to challenge ourselves to again take action and implement these new perspectives from over the past week. Now with this, the moon will be shifting from Pisces into Aries. So the first part of the day for most of us will likely be about a little more peace. Pisces is more about going with the flow. It's the weekend energy where it was important to turn a bit inward, right, or have more of that receptive approach to our actions. But as we do get to the later part of Monday and especially Tuesday, it is placing a theme on independence and more of that fiery energy. So it is good for that action, that assertiveness. But having said that, this whole Tuesday time period does require balance with that, because Mars, the ruler of Aries, that fiery side, is in a challenging square up to Neptune, the Pisces energy, the etheric, the spiritual energies. So when we are, pursuing our needs, our drives, it can, if it's more self-oriented, it's more towards the ego stuff or the surface stuff, it can create uncertainty with this transit. It can feel like swimming upstream a bit. So this transit reminds us to stay connected with our soul, to stay connected with what's important to us on a soul level, and put energy towards that. And when our actions are in alignment to these more soul-fulfilling things, or sometimes quite literally spiritual or creative things, then it's a great way of working with the transit, and then the energy flows a lot more. In other words, we want to swim with the current, with the stream, versus upstream. And so sometimes taking a bit of a step back or approaching things a little bit more receptively, with a little bit more yin energy in our life, tends to be then a very constructive way of working with this. And that's likely what's happening, is a reconnection with our egos and our unconscious, our spiritual selves, and aligning these two things together is a great way of working with it. Then as we do get to the Wednesday time period, we will be easing off some of that energy and noticing that it's easier to incorporate it. We also ease up out of the first quarter phase of the cycle, the first challenges of the lunar cycle, start to build a little bit more of that momentum as we do approach that full moon. And in the later part of Wednesday, the moon will be going into Taurus for the next few days up until Saturday, mid-Saturday. And so themes around resourcefulness is great. Connecting to our inner resourcefulness, self-reliance, inner strength, inner stability, and externally being grateful for things in our material life, enjoying a good meal, some relaxation, some nature. All right, this is all very good to do when the moon's strongly placed here in Taurus during this phase of the lunar month. So cultivating our inner and outer resources, maybe noticing a little more grounding energy coming out of this. Now, once we do get to that Friday time, Mercury is going to go retrograde, so it's going to pause in the sky. Usually good around the retrograde period to just kind of pause with our routines, things we normally rely on or things we normally do on a day-to-day level are starting to go through a reworking process. So pausing with it, there can be a little bit of a shift of insight sometimes during the station period, so good to listen. And then start to, as we get into the next 3 weeks with this transit, to be open to trying things differently with our routines, with our habits, as it's always the case with Mercury retrogrades. But again, this will be in the context of achievement or things we want to accomplish or put in that patience and perseverance into. So I would say this is a yearly energy because Saturn has been in Capricorn strongly for the past year. And in this case, it's been a good time of challenging ourselves to accomplish things and build towards things. And whatever that has been for you, maybe that's what's going through the reworking process. So if it is something specific, but in general, it's just good to be flexible and adaptive during the retrograde as things change, information changes, plans change. And so by having flexibility, it allows for more different energy. And things can flow during a retrograde. And it usually flows when we're willing to learn, we're willing to try new things, we're willing to adapt to situations, and I would say most importantly, willing to experiment, right? To again have changes to the routines, to change what we're normally relying upon, to rework some things. And in this way, very constructive time. The next few weeks, I think we'll be learning a lot and shifting a lot of perspective on these yearly bigger picture energies. Now, because Saturn's been squaring up to Uranus this past year, Uranus is going to get to, Mercury is going to get to a very close square with Uranus. And so in this sense, there can be a bit of that erratic mind, maybe a bit stressful. The contact isn't going exact, but typically when it gets close like this, we'll at least feel it a little bit, where the nerves, the maybe anxiety, that high frequency Uranus energy really affects the mind and the day-to-day activities. So good to, again, experiment. That is fundamentally what Uranus is all about anyways. And so anything that we can think outside the box with, do differently than we would normally do, right? Use that innovative mind that is certainly being influenced here, makes it very constructive. So squares are all about action, setting intentions, building things, and in this case, innovation, change, different, challenging ourselves, challenging our own status quo with the way we think about things, and maybe even do things on a day-to-day level. And so this, again, can create more flexibility, more adaptability. At least that's a good way of approaching it through that experimentation with Uranus. And again, in the yearly sense, if there has been anything you've wanted that, maybe might require getting outside the comfort zone, but is going to lead to more freedom, more change, more excitement in your life in some way, and you want to apply that during the retrograde to learn about it, to experiment with it, great. Again, a lot can be learned during these retrogrades, and in this context, it could be very much about these Uranus things, these things that give us more freedom. But again, it is a balance, as it has been with Saturn squaring Uranus. It's a balance of working on things patiently, diligently with the Capricorn, with the Saturn, but also innovatively with difference, change outside the norm, right? Balancing those two extremes, structure and change, right? Stability and freedom, right? Anything that incorporates both, I think, is great, as it has been the past year, but specifically with whatever's shifting with our routines, starting to shift with our routines around the Friday time period. All right, and then once we do get to the later part of Saturday, the moon will ease out of that theme around resourcefulness, resources, developing our resources with Taurus, and starts to get into Gemini late Saturday and all day Sunday. And so this is the Mercury energy. I think it's great for the weekend, for learning, using the mind, maybe sharing ideas with others or communicating with others. But it is a deeper energy, right? So the sun in Sag is going to pass over Pluto. And so there is that, just like the galactic center with Mars, a bit of that death and rebirth kind of energy. But in this sense, this happens once a year, and it is a new cycle, a new step in the right direction regarding reconnecting with the deeper side of ourself. And so a lot of this stuff gets illuminated, secrets, hidden stuff, occult, all this stuff, even deep stuff, healing, wounds, fears, all this gets illuminated personally and collectively during the Sun-Pluto conjunction. And it's a good time to reconnect with that, reconnect with our shadow, which is, again, already the case with Mars and Ophiuchus. Reconnect with our shadow, reconnect with our deeper side, see what our deeper values are, with Venus close by, right? But this awareness in the deeper realms to really accept and work with the deeper aspects of life. And in this way, it becomes very transformative. So Pluto's main lesson, I think, is non-attachment, to be willing to allow for the death, for the rebirth. So it's a collective death, in a sense, of the sun energy, the self-expression, which leads to the rebirth. So anything we're focused on, being non-attached, allowing for that transformation, and allowing to let go is really nothing to do, but allowing these fears or deep stuff, as we become more conscious, more aware of them, they're naturally being released, and then we feel more healed and transformed as a result. Now, of course, do give it until Mars officially passes over that galactic center, since Mars will be passing over that early next week. So it is a process going into next week, I would say, but beautiful, because as a result of all this, we are healing, we are rejuvenating, we are transforming, and our desires, our needs, our drives, ourselves are going through this rebirthing process with this type of collective energy. All right, everyone, so that is, and then of course, I want to mention that the full moon will be Monday, and so this is getting into that heightened energy phase of the cycle. There'll likely be some awareness coming in around the Monday time period. I will, of course, make a separate video on that. Shifts and changes along the monthly energy, then shifting us for the next 2 weeks of the cycle. All right, but this week, definitely building momentum as we approach that full moon. It is a week of first starting to, take some of those actions or challenge ourselves in a receptive way. We do have this strong Neptune energy and the moon in Pisces a bit. So aligning our fire with the soul-fulfilling things, right? The action with the receptive, active and receptivity. Combining those is great during this Mars square Neptune in particular. As we get to the later part of the week, start to pause with some of the routines or things we're thinking about or doing or relying on a day-to-day level to be reworked in the context of maybe achievement, in the context of maybe having more freedom in our life. And then over the weekend, some deeper energy being brought to the conscious light for us to be aware of, and in this way transform, rejuvenate, and into next week starting to get into that post-transformation, post-deeper energy, which has already been the case, for this past month or so lately, but now is taking a nice step in the right direction. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're not yet signed up for the free newsletter, MTZ Insiders, it is down below. You do get these videos released before YouTube and extra content not normally released on YouTube. So do sign up if you haven't yet, if you want to support the channel and get this extra content. But have a great week, everyone. Thank you again for all of your support, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.